Hey everyone, it's Asif Khan, Shacknews CEO, and I was invited to the Nintendo Switch 2 Experience Preview event here in New York the day of the Nintendo Direct. So I got to watch the Direct live, but I also got to try out a bunch of games, including Mario Kart World. Awesome game. Not surprising that it's the launch game for the Switch, given they didn't actually make a new Mario Kart last generation, they just ported a Wii U one over. And then they added a bunch of tracks, so I'm not saying it's not new, but it's not like a brand new game. It's been around since the Wii U era. So we're finally getting a new Mario Kart game. And it's different. You know, the Grand Prix is kind of similar, but you do have 24 vehicles. That was the first demo I got to play. It was just like more of a traditional Grand Prix. The biggest difference in this is like, you basically drive in between races to the other race. So it's like the game doesn't really end. The other thing I think is kind of interesting is you don't start from a stop. You're kind of coasting, and then the 3, 2, 1 comes on, and you can still do the boost if you hit the accelerator right before the 2 disappears or whatever. But it's a little different than when you're going from a complete stop. I don't know if it penalizes you as much because you don't really squeal your tires, right? You're not at a stop. There seem to be more items. Like I saw a gold shell. There was like a bunch of other stuff. There was like a hatchet or something you're throwing. And like when you throw it, it lands in the ground and then it blows up. And it's like multiple. Maybe it's a hammer bros or whatever. Yeah, there's some new items. And there's definitely some new experiences. So it's got an open world mechanic. And when I was messing around with the open world, I noticed a couple of things. I drove into the water. I don't know what level I was on. It was hard to tell based on the map like where you were. But I drove off of the level because you can just go and free roam in between races and stuff. So I drove into the water, and in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you would go underwater and your wheels would do the floaty thing. In this, your car turns into a hovercraft. So I don't know if there's going to be underwater levels in Mario Kart World or not, but the hovercraft is a whole new way to play the game, and I thought that was pretty neat. The other thing I saw is that when you're in the air, instead of a glider, your karts can turn into planes at times. And that created a whole new gameplay experience with like flying through rings and like doing some really cool stuff. It gave me like Diddy Kong Racing vibes in a good way, and I thought that was pretty exciting. And maybe more important than anything, you can play as a cow. Not just any cow, the cow from Moo Moo Meadows. Driving around on a motorcycle with a cow in that game is hilarious. I really, really enjoyed playing as the cow. And there's all these customizations of different characters. There's like Biker Wario and Biker Bowser and all sorts of variants of Peach and stuff and Yoshi. So if you like the customization stuff in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you're gonna get even more of that in Mario Kart World. And then there was this other mode, I keep blanking on the name, but it's like a battle royale. But like instead of a Grand Prix, you're basically going from one part of the map to the other, and it's like a death race, but it's also like first race we cut off at 20 people, and then like after that race you drive to the next starting line, and then you cut off at the end of that race, you cut it down to 16 and then 12, and I didn't make it that far, unfortunately. Okay, so it's called Knockout Tour. And the Knockout Tour is intense. This is the most intense Mario Kart multiplayer I've ever played. There's 24 people. And when you're in first place and you have 23 people who are all trying to take you out, it is not easy. And I play F099, and when you're in first place there, you have 98 people gunning for you at times. But this is, when there's a blue shell and a gold shell and a red shell and a green shell and a bunch of people chasing you, like, it is so intense. That was frustrating though, because I went from first place in the race in that Knockout Tour all the way to 17th, and I was like right behind the guy in 16th, so I barely missed it. That was super frustrating, but it was really fun. And I think it's cool to see like Nintendo is investing in online play, and honestly, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was one of the best online experiences on Switch. Not saying that Switch had great online experiences, it didn't, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was definitely one of the better ones. When you compare it to like Smash Ultimate or Mario Maker 2, there was like some really bad online experiences. I would even say Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was better than Splatoon 3 or Splatoon 2's multiplayer. The Mario Kart World is really an exciting release, and I think it's cool because it's like, it feels a little bit like Burnout Paradise, but it definitely feels a little bit more like a much less detailed Forza Horizon. But what I think's cool, that ability to just drive where you want, and like you can get together with friends and just be like, we're going this way, you know, and it's like you don't have to start a race if you don't feel like it. And that's just a new thing. Like an open world Mario Kart is a cool idea, and one that you can hang out with friends in it. I think that's a super cool idea. So really, we only got to try out a couple things today in it. I got to play the game in handheld, and I also got to play it in obviously docked. They wouldn't say what the resolution was. They wouldn't say what the frame rate was. But it was definitely better than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The textures look better, the character models look better, animations look great. Getting back to gameplay for a second, I mentioned how there's the hovercraft and how there's a plane. They got rid of the anti-gravity wheels, and instead, like, you can do a barrel roll onto walls, and you can wall ride still. But it's a little different than how things worked in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And I'm doing a lot of comparisons between the two because, like, that game's still fresh in everyone's mind, and when I was playing it, I kept asking myself, like, is this better? And the answer is yes. We didn't get to play every single mode. Like, I don't know if there's a battle mode in it, but I could see battle mode being kind of cool in an open world Mario Kart universe. It really depends on how many people can be on screen at any given time. A lot of opportunity for this game to be cool. I'm excited for it to launch, and also just based on how they supported Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in this last generation, I think it's safe to view Mario Kart World as a live service game that'll be around for the entire generation of the Switch 2, kind of like what they did with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch. Now, granted, they sold a gajillion units of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and I'm sure that had a lot to do with the expansion pack of those courses. But they already had 48 courses in the game before, and then they added up. It had 96 as of right now, and the game's pretty much done. But if you look at it and you're like, this is samey or whatever, it's not. It feels different. I do think that because there's 24 racers now, when you're in the back of the pack, you're definitely getting better weapons, better power-ups than you used to when you were back in 12th place in the old game. So I think that's an element of the rubber banding is almost too powerful. And I say that as a person who likes like racing games more than party racing games like this is. I like actual racing skill to determine who wins, and that's just never been the case in kart, so I'm not criticizing for that. But I'm saying that relative to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the rubber banding seemed more intense in my play sessions with Mario Kart World today. And I think it's worth noting. The other thing I noticed is that the power slide, it feels grippier, where like you can do some like really tight turns with it more than in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where it was definitely slidier. Some things that they showed in the Direct that I thought were cool about this game is that the weather is going to change dynamically. Time of day will affect what the courses look like too. And the courses are massive. These are very large courses, or environments, I guess. And the draw distance in this game is very impressive. So like, if you watched my Donkey Kong Bananza preview video or read it, I mentioned that it really feels like these are the largest worlds that have been built in some of these games, or in these franchises, or even in these genres for Nintendo. So like, it's easy to compare the world that you're seeing in Donkey Kong Bananza to Odyssey. Well, in the case of Mario Kart World, you have to compare it to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And while those tracks are impressive, and there's a lot of verticality to them, and great art styles, they're not that big. This definitely could be bigger, and I think that could lead to more complex races and more cool races, like what we saw with Mount Wario in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Like those ones that aren't necessarily lap-based, but stage-based. I think we may see more stuff like that in this. And the way that they're chaining together races in these different modes, I just think is very unique and cool. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time with Mario Kart World. I went back and played it a couple times. I played with Yoshi in a cart. I played with the cow driving a motorcycle. Looked great, felt great. The Joy-Con 2, as they're calling them, are materially better than the original Joy-Con. Like, you're gonna hear a lot of people say a lot of things about that. I'll get into it in my Switch 2 preview as well. I also played Kart World with the grip controller, where you slide the two Joy-Con into it. And because the Joy-Con are larger now, they definitely, that grip controller felt better to me. I never used the grip controller in the first generation Switch, but I could see myself actually using the grip controller, or, you know, giving it to a friend and not being like, hey, they're at a disadvantage. Because the size of the new Joy-Con, that increased size, made all the difference. So I really, really did enjoy playing it with that controller. I also played it with the Pro Controller, and I played it in handheld. I enjoyed every single way I played it. And I played it in split screen as well. The game runs very well. But once again, Nintendo didn't tell us much about frame rate or resolution. So that's cause for concern, right? But at the same time, visually, just I can tell you, it looked better. It ran better. And that was kind of the case with everything I saw today from the first party side. But we'll get to that in more preview videos, so keep it locked on Shacknews. We have a ton of content going live today because, you know, like I said, we were invited to the Switch 2 preview event here in New York, and I stayed up till God knows what time of the night to get all these videos out. So keep it locked on Shacknews. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up or subscribe or whatever you kids do these days. But yeah, this game's coming out on June 5th. Can't wait. I know that the Shacknews staff, we really like Kart, so we're probably going to start doing a weekly stream starting in June, so get ready for Steve Tendo to beat all of our butts. After ranking all 96 Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tracks last year, we were really, really tired of Kart. But yeah, everyone on staff is excited to play Mario Kart World when it launches in like 2 months. We're real close. Exciting times.